You are listening to the Unleashed and Aligned podcast, where we strip away the noise, unleash our truth, and align with our highest self. I'm your host, Coach Felicia, a life coach, energy guide, and your biggest believer. Now let's dive into today's episode. Welcome to the Unleashed and Aligned podcast. I have Lauren Fleming joining us today. She is a 34-year-old woman who was raised in Alaska till she moved in 2021. She loves pretty much anything outdoors and is often looking for her next adventure. She's a member of the LGBTQIA plus community and has been out since she was 17. That has played a part in some events in her life. She has been lucky to be able to experience pretty much everything that she's wanted to do so far. Now, before I start this podcast, I want to know how you identify in the LGBTQ plus community and if you have any specific labels and what pronouns that you use.
Sure. So, Lauren Fleming, she, her, and I identify as lesbian.
Thank you. I am super excited to have Lauren on my podcast today because she's not only an amazing member of the LGBTQIA plus community, she is also one of my best friends. So I'm super excited to do this interview. I think it's going to be amazing. She has such a unique perspective on so many things. I want to ask you about your journey in this discovery, who you are today. So let's dive in.
Sure. Sounds good. How I started, gosh, I knew when I was very young. I came out officially when I was 17 as lesbian, but it was quite a long journey. I did find myself trying to not be gay. It wasn't right as how I was taught. And from friends that I had seen come out, they went through such a hard time and I wanted to avoid that. So I definitely had a rough journey of not figuring out that I was gay, but really trying to figure out if I could get rid of it. I had a pretty lucky acceptance. I was accepted very quickly with my friends and my family when I did officially come out. But there was a lot of internal struggle when I was younger, and we're talking from 7, 8 years old on. So it wasn't a smooth transition per se, but it wasn't super rough either. I had a very lucky situation.
That's good. So when you were younger, you said 7, 8, what did that look like?
It's funny, yes, I was definitely tomboy. And of course, from the outside in, I'd get asked, "Do you want to be a boy?" I'm like, "No, I don't want to be a boy. I just like their clothes more." And so I was definitely tomboy. And ironically, I didn't like hanging out with girls. I like hanging out with guys. That young, I wasn't really interested in, of course, like dating. I didn't know what that was. In fact, I avoided girls. I think a lot like what guys do at that age. And so I was very much into more male dominant hobbies and hanging out with boys, wanting to be accepted by boys. And then later on, that kind of shifted a little bit as my identity started to come to fruition a little bit. And I started to learn more about what was out there, what my options were, how to identify myself. But yeah, definitely tomboy.
So what's a question you wish people would stop asking, and why is it inappropriate or harmful?
For my unique experience, I'm honestly pretty open with pretty much any question someone might ask, even if it seems like it's inappropriate, as long as it's asked respectfully. Just with close friends that I know, we can get in deep with some weird stuff. But as long as they're asked respectfully, I want to educate. And some of those types of questions can be really awkward to ask. And so I really try to maintain an openness with my lifestyle and any curiosities they might have.
I love that answer because I think that so many people shy away from either talking to somebody or expressing this genuine curiosity, and then they stay in the dark on stuff and really don't understand and can't grasp what's going on in somebody's life, which we don't have to know what's going on in everybody's life, but in a standpoint of being able to relate to that person more. And I think that when we can relate, we have that empathy and that compassion for somebody else. And so I love that you're open to it and allow, as long as it's, of course, respectfully. And I think that even if somebody says it in a way that sounds direct. I think that you're the type of person that is still, "Hey, I'm gonna call you out on that, but
Uh-huh.
also I'm gonna answer your question." And I love that because I think it's good for people to know and hear because I think so many people don't wanna ask the things, and then we just stay hidden and stay in the dark on stuff, and then, like I said, sometimes we don't even engage. I said "we," but not me, but just as humans,
Humans,
don't engage with somebody, and then the other person feels left out, and then it's just a whole thing.
100%.
What are genuine ways people can support the LGBTQ, I'm just gonna say plus community, beyond just saying I'm an ally?
Correct people.
Mm,
When you hear people making assumptions or misgendering somebody, what have you, speak up, stand up. A flag on your desktop background for a month is not enough. I work from home, I work remotely, and I do see, and I love to see the pride representation and things like that with my company. But just celebrating once a month is not enough. It's a lot. It isn't enough. It needs to be a daily thing. And it's performing genuine kindness and expressing equality every day for everyone. It's not just
mhm.
LGBTQIA plus. It's everybody. So you see someone disrespecting someone outright, e- we got to stand up and protect each other. We're on this earth to help each other and grow with each other. And who else is going to do that? Stand up and do it every day, not just during June.
And I like that you mentioned it's not just for the LGBTQIAI plus community. I think that's important to note because you're right, there's bullying and disrespect and things that happen every day, and when we don't do anything about it or comment about it later, it's really not helping anyone or anything, and it's perpetuating like that hate and that negativity in the world. So what makes you feel actually supported and not just tolerated by someone who isn't part of the community?
Fun question. So for me, personally, just answering for myself,
Of course.
I love it when my friends joke around with me, specifically surrounding that I am a lesbian and and having it be genuine. So an example could be we're out in an event somewhere, they see someone who's very attractive and they happen to be female and they go, "Oh my God, Lauren, look, beautiful." And yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Whatever. Could be a little inappropriate, but just making jokes and just including me. And also on the other side, I might be lesbian, but I can appreciate beauty in anybody, male, female, whoever. And so including me in who do you think is hottest when we're talking about, say, several male actors or something super small and simple, but just, hey, I'm still a human that appreciates beauty and I still can have an opinion. And I feel fully supported and accepted when I'm just treated as me and I can just be me.
Yeah. So this kind of goes into the next question is what are the microaggressions or jokes that people think are harmless but really aren't?
I think that it really is based on assumptions and sticking to stereotypes can be harmful. We are individuals, still, everybody's an individual. And when you joke about stereotypes that are more harmful, let's throw out the U-Haul joke. That's funny. That's not harmful. It's freaking true. Okay.
What is that?
U-hauling? Oh, I love this. Okay. Well, U-hauling is based upon that lesbians will basically move in and they'll bring a
Oh.
U-Haul to the first date. And it's, gosh, we've seen it and it's funny and I can laugh about it. But I'd say definitely running on people's appearances can be very harmful. Joking about my appearance and you see me, I'm not necessarily butch. I'm more femme kind of, but I'm in the middle there. And I've certainly been asked or made fun of to choose my gender. Or do you'd be a better guy than a girl or whatever. Things like that. And they're joking, but it's not funny. I like who I am. I want to be who I am, and I'm going to represent and appear this way. And it means nothing about being a man or a woman. It's about being me. So just staying away from certain stereotypes that can be harmful.
Yeah, I like that answer. It's an interesting thing that people assume. And the more deep I get into this non-binary and just looking at everything, not even gender as that, but it's so boxed and categorized as there has to be a male and female in anything. And so it's like in the relationship when somebody says, "Oh, who's the male or who's the female?" Like, how do you respond or what are your thoughts about that in general?
I honestly just don't engage in those questions. It's ignorant. It's pure ignorant. And I know earlier I said I'm open to any questions. That is not one of them. I think that is absolutely born of ignorance. And I think there's a different question that they want to actually ask. I don't think that's the actual question people have. They're just trying to make sense of something they don't
Mhm.
understand. So I'll say it's a hetero woman with her husband or something. So I might go back to them. Who's the man or woman in your relationship? How do you define that? Not trying to be combative, but genuine. You're asking me about me. I'm going to ask about you. I don't think that question has the actual intent that they're asking. So I don't engage generally.
I think that it is an interesting one, and it just goes back to almost like, "Why are you the way you are?" kinda thing. It just doesn't
Exactly. No, no,
it's
yeah, exactly, exactly. And I think that there could be a good question in there,
Mhm.
I think. And I've had friends, I think even yourself, if we joke about it and we've gone back and forth. And I'll joke, I'm definitely the man in this situation. I'll be the woman in this situation. We'll joke. And that's very private. And that's
Yeah.
me. I think that if you have a different question, I think there's a better way to ask it. And because I'm hoping that they're seeking to understand, not just to irritate and disrupt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you feel when people expect you to be the educator in every setting?
I'm happy to be that. I think it's assumed that it might be irritating and maybe even members of the community, the LGBTQAI plus community might be have different viewpoints and it really all depends on the individual. And within a friend group, if I happen to be I'm usually the only gay member of my friend group, and that's another interesting thing that I don't have a lot of other gay friends, trans friends, and so on. I have a handful, but most are straight. I am happy to educate. I am happy to answer questions, again, as long as it's respectful. But I love giving my point of view. I never used to. I definitely always used to hide in the shadows, be quiet, stay in my bubble. I'm not even necessarily now super outspoken, but I'm not going to be quiet if someone asks me a question and wants my opinion, my viewpoint, or feels like they need to be educated on something. As long as they understand I'm not a spokesperson for
Mhm.
LGBTQIA, my experience is mine alone. I can attest to things I've seen and seen others go through, but I can't speak for the whole community. And so as long as they understand that too, I'm happy to be an educator.
Yeah, I love that because that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have so many different people on the podcast to speak about this topic or just all the different letters.
Members,
Yeah, numbers. Because everybody has such a different perspective on so many aspects of it. And there, like you said, there are some that are pretty uniformed and people have general the same ideas or same values and beliefs, but everybody has such a different experience, and I think that's awesome, and I think it's really fun to understand all the different ways and how people get to where they're at, and also hopefully help inspire somebody else that may be going through something themselves and is like in that navigation stage and wants more information or wants to hear other people's backstories and journeys through this. Um,
exactly. You never know what people are going through. So,
yeah.
especially if there's kids around too, I'm open to talking with them, answering their questions and things because you don't know. I would have loved to have a member of the community around me as a younger person to feel more comfortable. I felt like had to do it all and just jump off the edge of that cliff and hope I got caught. So I definitely would love to be one of those people for someone that that feels comfortable being themselves, whatever that might be. It might just be different. It might be being neurodiverse. I'm also very neurodiverse. As someone that's uncomfortable with being autistic, ADHD, anything in between on the spectrum. It all goes hand in hand. Honestly, we're a big soup, and I would love to be there to help make someone feel more comfortable to be them.
Yeah, I think that's so important, and like you said, you wish somebody would have been there to support you. I think that there's a lot of people out there that are probably in relationships, they're hetero relationships that have felt this way and just never made that leap that you did. And so I think that it does take courage to be who you are in this world, and it shouldn't, but unfortunately it does. And so, like, kudos to you and everybody that's been on my podcast and everybody that's a member that's being them and still navigating. I think we always are still navigating, but there's so many people out there that you don't even know that may be going through something internally and they're not showing it to the world. Um,
Exactly.
what is a stereotype about LGBTQ people that you find most frustrating or untrue? And how do you personally break that mold?
That's a really good question. I don't know what I'm allowed to say on here, but honestly, that essentially that a lesbian wants to hump every girl and a gay man wants to hump every guy. Like,
Yeah.
just because I'm a girl and I like girls and you're a girl does not mean that I want you more than just a friend or an acquaintance or what have you. It's no different than being
Mhm.
hetero. And like a battle that we're having right now is that trans people
Mm,
being seen as pedophiles and things like that. Bathrooms are a big subject. When is the last time you've gone in there and done anything but just use the restroom? And what do you do in your own household? If you're having a bunch of people over, what bathroom are they using? Do you have
mhm.
them gendered? No. I very much dislike that stereotype. You can hear my voice elevate from it because it is very frustrating. Personally, when I first came out, my own mom would not let me have sleepovers anymore. I
Mm,
could not have sleepovers with guys, obvious reasons, quotation. But then I couldn't have sleepovers with girls anymore either. Best friends that she's known for
yeah.
years. And it broke me because it was such a big misunderstanding. And it wasn't about the water fountains, it's not about the bathrooms. It's a stereotype that I wish could go away. It's, again, ignorance and insecurity and misunderstanding and projection of other people's uncomfortability.
Yeah, it's so funny that you bring that up because in my interview with Allison Hayes, she's bi and we talked about how in the bi community it's like a free for all. They think
That is a rough
oh,
community.
yeah, yeah, and it was so
They
interesting
got it
because
rough.
I never even would have thought about that until she brought it up. But then just you mentioning that, it's yeah, there is that stereotype. And when I was talking to her, I was like, I feel like, she was talking about in the bi community, if you're in a hetero relationship, then the other person is, oh, now you have more options, you're more likely to cheat. And it's like, if you're a cheater, you're probably going to be a cheater no matter what kind of options
Mhm.
you have. And so I think that is a definite stereotype that I think is ridiculous. For the information and the people that I know, I've never seen that to be true. And then I was talking about how it's more likely that a person is going to assault or abuse a member of the LGBTQ community than it is that somebody is going to get assaulted in a bathroom, probably by a trans person. And I think it's a way to create fear and a way to create this conformity and this social structure of that it's something's bad and it shouldn't be happening, and to put that fear into people and make them conform to what how The hierarchy wants.
Absolutely. Get people a common enemy and they'll come together. I'm not speaking in the political area per se, and I'm not some kind of conspiracist, but facts are
Right.
historically that's a tactic used, and it does. The sad thing is it does work, and it works quickly,
Oh, yeah.
and that's why that kind of tactic sticks around. We take the road most traveled by, unfortunately, most of
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah, and you can see that in social media too. People, if one person posts something bad, it's almost like it gives other people the permission to be like, "Oh yeah, I want to comment on this anyways." So, if someone out there listening is questioning their identity or confused about their feelings, what would you say to them right now?
I would say lean into them. Don't avoid them. I know that they're scary and I know that they're uncomfortable, but if you keep them inside and you don't address them and process them and look at them, they're only going to get bigger and it's going to be that much harder when they can't stay suppressed anymore. So, if you are questioning, as an example, if you are questioning your orientation, because that's what I can speak on the most, you do have such a bigger community than in your immediate community. If you are fearful that your inner community will not accept you, then that's not your community. You really have nothing to lose. If you do come out and you're not accepted with your friends and your family, and it's going to hurt and it's going to be lonely, but you have much better people out there. I say my chosen family. My chosen family is much more important to me than my blood family. Those are the people that get to choose to love you and accept you for who you are, not the ones that feel like they're obligated to because it's their requirement because they're blood. That's not love and that's not acceptance. So, as scary as it is, it's so much better when you get to be you every time, every single time. It's so much better to be yourself.
Yes, I definitely agree with that. So, what truth do you carry that the world needs to hear, even if they're not ready?
That we are all one, that we all bleed red, we all feel pain, we all feel sadness, we all feel happiness, hopefully. And one truth that I've been saying that has been making even some of my close friends turn heads is you're not special. We are not special. As a whole, in the grand scheme of things,
Mhm.
we are not special. And we should not be acting like we are special. You are special to a few people in this world, and that's it. You are not above anyone, you're not below anyone. You are not special. And I like it when I get asked when I do say that, I like it when I get asked, "Where does that come from? Why are you saying what do you mean?" Because it's not as black and white as it might come out, but that's the truth. That's my belief.
I like that. It reminds me of it's like we're all divine and we're not divine at all.
Oh,
We
yeah.
are what we are. And we're all gonna die. So
We are
you have
all
to,
gonna die. You now, I will say we are all unique,
yes. Oh yeah. Unique
right?
is
We are
different
all
than,
unique, but unique is different than special.
yeah, I think unique is not putting yourself above somebody else, you know.
Exactly.
Awesome. Before we go, I want to ask, because I ask everybody on this podcast, what does unleashed and aligned mean to you personally?
For me, it means an opportunity to explore parts of me that I haven't been able to in ways I've never tried and be able to be comfortable. I think being unleashed and aligned, specifically with your title, is really truly being your free self, which also means being aligned with yourself. You cannot be unleashed without being aligned. So that's my goal. I want to be more in tune with myself and every version of me from here on out because we always change. And I want to make sure that I'm able to realign every time I do shift in my life. Like I said, you can't be unleashed without being aligned with your true self.
Amazing. Is there anything before we wrap up that we didn't cover that you want the listeners to hear, or maybe something that you're felt called to share?
Nothing specific besides we need allies as humans. So not just LGBTQ. I we all need equality. We all need allies. And I know it's scary to speak up, but just please start speaking up. Do what you can do in your own world, in your bubble. It's actually way more powerful than you think. So speak up more. We need it more than ever.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on my podcast, Lauren.
Welcome. Thanks for having me. It was
Yeah.
fun. I love it.
All right. All right. So Lauren happened to give me some information after I stopped recording. And so we decided to re-record so she can give all the listeners this information. And then we just kind of had some fun chatting for a little bit after. So this is the behind the scenes portion of Unleash and Align podcast. This is the Unleash and Align dark web podcast, the real backstory. So Lauren brought it to my attention that there is a study surrounding more of the psychological reasons why people might assume that bi people cheat more. Explain to me this a little bit about this research.
Sure. It's been a while since I read up on it, and I'd love to
It's
refresh myself on it.
that was the research paper was done by Lauren Fleming. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Maybe I should redo it. No, it really goes into the psychological human condition and the trends of there's no hiding that autism and trans people and autism and other LGBTQ members goes hand in hand. Any kind of neurodivergency is very high in the LGBTQ family. And there's biological connection there and studies there. And they have done some psychological studies on, I believe it was derived off of, I don't want to say therapists, but could be psychologists that have had a lot of patients that have come through that are bi and so on and so forth. And there are patterns, trends, and psychological tendencies that seem to flow through the bi community that does instill like or displays an unsteadiness or a pattern of unsteadiness within them, and it has nothing to do with having options, right? Like we all technically have all the same options. We
Right.
just choose to not take them, whatever. But it has nothing to do with that. It really is just who they are as a person and how they feel about themselves and what they're going through psychologically. So that's what the study is about. And then what I took away from it is that there's more that they're up against. I They're up against a lot of scrutiny as well, lack of acceptance within their own community, and genuinely just not being trusted can really lead you to just believe that you shouldn't be trusted and
Hmm.
lead you to do these things. And so I don't believe it reflects the type of people bi or queer fluid people are. I think that there is a trend that could be worth looking into, and it could just be that we have to put more focus on certain areas. We're missing a whole group of people that really actually just need a little extra support. Again, these are just opinions and theories, it's not fact, but I found the study interesting because with my own experience, like I had said before, I don't trust you. And I'm not going to do that. I will be your friend. I cannot be any more than that. And I was curious one day and looked it up and read up on it a little bit. And now I feel a little more valid.
It'd be crazy.
It's been crazy. And, but my heart goes out to them. And I definitely agree that they have a hard time. They
Yeah.
have a hard time, and not every bi person is that way, that's all I'm saying, but it was just an interesting thing to read about, and I'm curious to see how that grows, and if they do find something that really truly hits the nail on the head, that
Yeah.
maybe if someone identifies as bi, they can start going to therapy and or something like that, whatever it is, that could help.
So in this study, I have a question, and I have another question. But in this study, did they talk about anything like trauma-wise that was like a pattern of like some type of trauma?
Trauma was yes.
Mm,
Yes, absolutely.
okay.
Trauma goes hand in hand. Now, whether it played a factor was still in question
Okay.
because, gosh, I don't know a member of the LGBTQ family or even many
Mm,
women that haven't had some kind of, and I'll say specifically sexual trauma. Do I think it makes you gay? No, not at all. But I do think that it definitely affects people and how they act in their relationships. And so trauma was mentioned, and that was a part of the study. They're trying to figure out if that really is a genuine factor or not. But I think trauma can affect anybody in that way, straight, gay, fluid, what
right.
have you. But it was involved in the study.
So I have another question because I was at this pagan festival thing that I had a booth at, and this guy came up, and I can't remember if I had asked you this or not, or I told you about this, but he was like, I have a tattoo, but it's not visible. But then the person next to me had one, and I guess people there, I wasn't honestly really paying attention to people's tattoos, but he was like, yeah, he was a new member of the community, and he had said, I noticed that people in this community have tattoos. That's a thing within this he was talking about like the polyamorous community, like LGBTQ type community. And he was like, "What's that about?" And I was like, "I think people just like tattoos."
As I look at my
I know.
tattoos.
And that's what made me think of it as I was looking at your tattoos, and I was like, I think that it's a way of expressing yourself, and two, I think there was a time when I was younger that it was like a rebellious thing that a lot of people did.
Mhm.
And so I think that was, but I think everybody has like their own experience of it, and I wouldn't have categorized it in there, but I'm curious what your thoughts are on it, and if you've noticed that, yeah, it is a trend in this community and this is why, or if not.
100% it's a trend, and it's more than just LGBTQ, right? I find a lot of allies that have tattoos. They're completely straight, and but they have a lot of tattoos. And I think it goes along with it's rebellious to be yourself. It
Mm,
shouldn't be. Like you've said before, it should not be, but it is rebellious to be you.
mm,
And I do take it as a form of expression. It's not how I don't want to be viewed as, I don't know, I've been viewed as tough and rough and edgy and all this stuff, and I'm like, "That's cool, but these are for me." And I think that there's an obvious trend of being yourself, giving what's on the inside out, and there's also a lot of, I'll say, a lot of artistic-minded, members of the LGBTQ community, and I believe that can coincide too, right? A lot of artistic minded people end up having some form of artwork on them, whether it's tattoos, piercings, their hair. You'll
yeah,
notice the different colored hair a lot.
yeah.
But then you'll notice that your 85-year-old grandma suddenly wants to dye her hair purple, and so she was never able to because she grew up in a time where she wasn't allowed to do anything. And so it is a form of rebellion, I think, but also a form of expression and just that artistic side that trends through the LGBTQ community.
Yeah, I like that how you said, like, like, letting yourself come out, and it made me think of, oh, yeah, the people that don't have tattoos are viewed as, like, pure and all of that stuff, and then yeah,
You're pure virgin, Stan.
exactly. Mine's hidden, so I still look like I'm a virgin.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I think that's interesting, and then I don't know what your take is on this either. I think it goes with the idea of just being expressive and being yourself and being outside the norm, but he also was like, "And all of these people in this pagan community are poly." And I was like, "Okay, one, you're, like, really trying to narrow down some categories here, bud." But I also think that any of these things that he's talking about are outside the norms like you mentioned, and yeah, I think that people are just out there exploring and trying to figure out who they are. They might be in this community, but they might not be for long. Like they're still just like looking for what do I like? What do I believe? What do I value? And I
Sure.
think that's why you see like the melting pot of different aspects to express yourself or ways. That's what I viewed it as. I don't know if you have anything to add to that or not. I just thought it was funny and I wanted to share it.
Man, I don't really get that. I get the lifestyle, but I get its purpose. I've had several friends, unfortunately, the last couple of years have gone through relationship struggles, and they'll try poly, and I'll giggle like, "Yeah, that's gonna last," because I know it ain't. But there's a what if that wasn't an accepted lifestyle, and what if that wasn't an option, and what if like sometimes it does work, and regardless if it doesn't, you learn more about yourself,
Mm.
and I don't think you lose anything by trying something different. And I think that there's your genuine poly families, it works for them and they can make it last. And that's it takes a special kind of human and special kind of communications that I don't think everyone's able to do. But I do think that it has its purpose and its place. I would find it very stressful personally. But then again, I already know who I am and I
Yeah.
know what I like, I know what I want. And I'm open to the fact that things change. We become different versions of ourselves our whole lives, and things change. And so, if having a poly relationship for a while or what have you is helping you to figure that out, then do it. So, I think it all has its place, and I'm sure there's a trend somewhere that we can find, but
Yeah.
I think the LGBTQ community is so much more than just that. I think it's an open space for people to figure out
Yeah.
themselves and has nothing to do with gender, has nothing to do with who
Yeah.
you want to love. It has nothing to do with that. It's just figuring out you and it's a safe space.
I like that. What else were we talking about that was funny? That wasn't funny. That was a real question that this guy asked.
Yeah, no, that's yeah. These are questions that is a good example of that was the ignorant way of putting it, but I can see that he's curious and I'll do my best.
It was so funny because I felt like I was just kind of like, why are you making it bigger than it is? I feel
Yeah, that's the thing too, is it is what it is and just let it exist. If it doesn't
like,
affect you, then to each their own. I grew up, so I didn't mention this really, I didn't go into detail, but growing up in Alaska, I'll speak a little on politics. It's a red state, but we're very isolated and we had our own culture and ways of living. And one thing that I did appreciate that I didn't realize that I had was everyone kept to themselves. They didn't care. If they cared that I was
mhm.
gay, I didn't know. I didn't really have any bad experiences in Alaska for me being gay. I had
Yeah.
more for being a woman than being gay,
Mm.
honestly. So coming out to the lower 48 was like I hit a brick wall of just, oh my God, like when people don't like who you are, they tell you
Yeah.
down here, and it's terrifying. And I found myself missing the whole I don't care what color the state is, okay? Red, blue, purple, green, yellow, whatever. I would love to live in a more balanced state where there's multiple viewpoints and things like that. But my life doesn't affect yours. I'm not doing anything to affect you. Just respect me as a human and leave it alone. And I miss that. And I think that if we were able to move that through more of the country, I think that it wouldn't matter so much who our president is. It wouldn't matter so much, what color dominates a state. I think that there would be a lot less murders. There'd be a lot less bullying. There'd be a lot less protesting. There would
Yeah.
be a lot less over your shoulder at night because people are just leaving each other alone.
Yeah.
So it's just accept and let live and just live your life, y'all. Why are you so obsessed with the person next door?
Why you so obsessed with me? Mhm.
Exactly.
There was something I was gonna say to that and I can't remember. Mm, dang it. My brain. Oh, I was thinking Alaska. Okay. So I don't know if you've ever told me like what your cultural background is.
Like where I'm like my DNA?
Yeah.
DNA. So I'm super white and then I have some American Indian. I have some Scottish, Dutch, German, French. And then I have a decent amount of American Indian.
I was gonna say, I feel like you look like you would be some type of native
Yeah, so and
besides your
now
whiteness.
that's different than your Alaska natives. So
Yeah.
folks that hunted in igloos and things like that. That's not it. It's in Washington. You have a lot of the tribes and things like that. That's the high cheekbones,
Yeah.
the darker skin, or at least the ability to tan. I definitely don't have dark skin, but I can at least tan. I actually have enough in me to get my card, right? That and I can get free medical care and all that. I haven't made the move to go do that just because I don't need that privilege. I'm already born in privilege in a way, and I do identify as such, and so I am in their records and things, but I don't go get that card because European
I might, maybe I want the card.
DNA test.
Yeah. What sorry, I just took a DNA test. Turned out I'm 100%.
That is.
Okay. What was it? Oh, I cut you off. What Native American are you? Tribe?
Cherokee.
Cherokee. Oh, Cherokee people. Okay, this is just going to become a sing-along at this point. That was the end of the Backstage Pass. I hope you enjoyed the podcast, and we'll see you in the next episode. If you enjoyed this podcast, please make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review so that we can connect with more people to develop our mind, body, and spirit.